Hello YouTube and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord and we're looking at another total conversion mod. This one is called Eagle Rising Dawn of an Empire, and it's basically an antiquity mod. It takes what Bannerlord already has, which is a pseudo-ancient medieval world, and brings it all the way back into antiquity, or at least that's the goal. So this mod is regularly updated. The last update for it at the time of recording here is June 13th of 2021, so not too long ago, and it says it's being developed by the Calradia Awakens team, so it's a whole team of people, and it was uploaded by Benji G91, I believe. Honestly, one of the best mods currently out there for total conversion, and I know a lot of people have been looking for a more grounded, historical sort of mod, one set in the real world, and this one delivers that, kind of. It's not trying to bring the game into Rome, it's trying to bring Rome into the game. So we'll explore what that looks like throughout this video, but for now I just want to read what they say about the mod. So I'm just going to read right off their mod page to let you know a little bit more about the mod from their perspective. Alright, it says, the scope of this mod has greatly increased thanks to some amazing people. The mod is intended to eventually be themed on Ancient Calradia. The mod takes place years after the Calradoi Tribe's arrival in Calradia. They're already a fledgling empire that has carved out a large part of the land. Witness the rise of an empire or help it burn to the ground. So they're really just trying to adapt the game, the story that the game already has, to fit their more specific factions that kind of look and feel a lot more like our real life peoples from antiquity. So it says the Empire is going to be the Calradoi Empire, which is going to be themed on Rome. Vlandia is going to be the Palaic Tribes. They said this will be changed in the future. The Celtic faction will be the Battania, and the Palaics will be conquered in our mod. They will make an appearance through bandits, minor factions. So their plan is to make the Battanians be a Celtic faction and have Palaics no longer being a total faction like they currently are in the mod. They're just going to be bandits that you'll run into from time to time. They said Battania in the full version, Battania will be the Battania as they were always around, only they will have more land. So they're going to be giving them a lot more power than they have in the vanilla game. Considering in Bannerlord's lore, the Battanians were there first, or very, very early. They were some of the original people of the land, and for that, they really don't control a whole lot in the vanilla game. They said for now they are replaced with the Dryatics, themed on Dacia. In the full version, the Dryatics will have their own land. Then they have the Khuzaits, which they said they will likely split into two kingdoms eventually. One will be based loosely on a generic Hellenic state, referred to as Laconia in the in-game lore, and they said their plans are to give them a Hellenic aesthetic, but likely be styled after Bactria. If we're able, we'd also like to introduce a Scythian-style faction. So they're really trying to give us a whole broad spectrum of different peoples or cultures from our antiquity. And I think, honestly, so far it's working great, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. They said they're not aiming to be 100% accurate, but they're going to do what they can. With all that in mind, that's what their mod page says. If you want to check out this mod, I have the link in the description. There's also a donation option on their mod page, and if you like it and you want to support it, I strongly recommend you do that, because work like this obviously doesn't pay for itself. And of course, if you download it and you like it, definitely give it an upvote. Make sure people know that it's a good mod. But let's just dive on into it and get looking at what this mod actually adds to the game right now. So this is what the map looks like. Now, as you can tell, it's the same map. This is the Bannerlord map. They haven't changed it at all, and as far as I know, they're not planning to, other than probably some names, or as I listed in what they've already said, the faction, so who starts with what. Just to test out this mod, I started off as an Imperial person, so I could, see, because the main focus of this mod, especially for me, is Rome, because I love Rome. So I decided to not only style myself a Roman Imperial, but I also founded my own kingdom and named it the Roman Empire. I feel like it's a little bit on the nose there, but it definitely works. Bear in mind, I do have cheats enabled on this. I usually do that so I can really test out new mods like this and see what they all add. That way I don't have to try to depend on random chance for me to encounter things like new items or new troop types, things like that. So we can just start looking. So I'll just look at some of these lords. So you can see that most of the, especially the Imperial ones, from what I've seen so far, most of the lords in the game have already been rekitted out. So they have, I would say, lore accurate, but in this case, mod accurate armor. So you can see Farron, a popular vassal from the Southern Empire. He's actually a member of the Roman Empire now because he joined me. But you can see that he's got some musculata armor on, and it looks very nice. And there's a lot of variation. I wanted to show you some of the lords so you could see the more generic, or what the default armors that you're going to actually see native throughout the game are going to be with this mod. But most of what they were actually wearing is blocked, so I figured it'd be better just to show you some of the outfits that I've got on me and my companions. So you can see that this is a pretty fancy Roman outfit I've got on me here. Basically, when I was building it, like I said, I have cheats enabled so I could actually go through. I just picked out what my favorite items were from the Empire faction and made my suit out of that. And I think it turned out awesome. It looks really, really cool. But yeah, so this is a pretty high-end example of the Imperial or Roman armor in the game. Then you've got something like this I built. I wanted it to be a little bit more old school looking, almost Greco-Roman. So he's got the full brass kind of look to it, or bronze, depending on, you know, how dark it looks, with the musculata and the matching helmet, and it looks very nice in my opinion. It shows the wide spectrum of different quote-unquote Roman armors, and that's one of the things this mod does really well, is it's got a ton of variety. Then we've got another one of my companions I've got dressed up in the Dryadic armor. So this is all armor in the game that's listed as Dryadic armor, and I think it looks really cool. Like I said, the problem with Bannerlord is it was pseudo-ancient, pseudo-medieval, so it was supposed to be this kind of hybrid, and in my opinion, that doesn't really work. Do one or the other, and this mod really helps bring it into antiquity. So we've got these really awesome period accurate, or pretty period accurate, armor pieces for these guys, and they just look fantastic. They have so much more character than the vanilla assets from the game. Here we've got a good example of some Palaic armor, so this is definitely less refined looking than the Dryadic, or of course the Empire armor, and these are the ones that eventually in the mod are going to be just bandits, and they're going to be replaced by a Celtic faction. But I just love the huge bear head for the head armor, and it's got a targe for a shield and a broad backsword. I love the combinations that you can come up with this mod. We've got one where it's got some of the vanilla armor mixed with some of what the mod adds in as mercenary armor, basically just the torsos, the mercenary stuff, but it mixes pretty well with the warlord stuff from the vanilla assets, or at least in my opinion. Then we've got some more of the Dryadic stuff. I went with the slightly lower leveled but really cool looking kind of golden variants of a lot of the armor for this guy. Then we've got a decently average, I would say, Roman cavalry sort of soldier here. So we've got some a pretty fancy Lorica Hamata type armor on, and some more standard soldiers arm wraps in here, and a pretty decent I think it's a type J helmet there. There's just so much variety in this mod. It's so hard for me to explain. And then of course we've got your stereotypical Lorica Segmentata type armor on our legionary here. So this is our Scutum on the back. He's got a Pilum, he's got a Gladius, all of it together. Very awesome as far as armor combinations can come up with. So I'll just show you some more of those. Now the reason I like having the cheat modes on, or whatever you want to call them, is so I can just show you the vast amounts of items that have been added with a mod like this. Literally hundreds. It took so long for me to sort through them to even, you know, build outfits, just because there's so many different options. And you've got all sorts of different, like there's a dozen types of scutums you can choose from. You know, that's the level of variety that you have in this mod. I think the largest amount of variety comes from the helmets. There's a lot of different types of armor, but I think the helmets is where we have the most. You can see, like, there we've got a Praetorian brass Gallia with gold crest. Here there's a brass legate helm with black crest, another style of that legate. They've got, there's like 30 or 40 different varieties of just this legate helm. They have gladiator helmets, a whole bunch of different varieties of those. Got an Empire helm with a bear skin on it. Some different variants of some Imperial helmets. So this is a heavy variant of one. Definitely has a more unique look to it. There's a million different crest versions of these, so you can really design it how you want. Like I said, I just, the armor probably impressed me more than anything else in this mod, just how much variety and how high quality, honestly, all of it is. I didn't find any that I thought looked bad. There weren't any textures in any of these that I found where I was like, oh god, that looks kind of unfinished, it needs some more work. I think all of them look pretty dang good just as they are. So, like I said, definitely an awesome job on the armor especially, and to a lesser extent the weapons. There's some cool looking weapons in the game. A particular favorite of mine is this Empire Expensive Cavalry Gladius, because it looks almost exactly like the sword used by Russell Crowe in the movie Gladiator when he's the Roman general at the beginning. So I'm a big fan of that. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but if they were, they nailed it. It looks awesome. But yeah, so as far as armor and weapons goes, This mod adds a ton of them, and they're pretty much all awesome. So let's move on to troops. So you can see they've got unique troop trees for basically all of the factions that they've worked on, fully fleshed out, and they're awesome. So here we're just obviously going to start in the most basic one, which is going to be the Empire. So we start with the Levy, and then you can go to the Vigil, or Vigil, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, which is going to be equipped with your Lorica Hamata. And then on the other side, they've got Slingers, which is interesting. It's fun to have Slingers in the game. Then you can start down an Archer path, and they're going to start developing that way, or keep going down Slingers, and that's going to stick with the Auxilia. Or if we're over on the infantry side, which I think is just more impressive. So if we look down these don't really change a whole lot. They just, stats get slightly better, and so does their armor gets a little bit better. Same goes for the archers. They look pretty basic, but they look very good. I think they stand out a lot in the game, and I think lore-wise they make a lot of sense. But if we're over here on the other side, you have two choices. You can go down the Legionary path, which is going to be the path that I go down most often just because I love how they operate. Or you could go down the Auxilia path, which is going to give you the option between dedicated spearmen and cavalry. So if we go down that path, we can go down through the spearmen or the cavalry. And these cavalry, in the end, are going to be, decently good troops. But where I really like it is the Legionary. So we have the Empire Legionary, the Empire Evocatus, and then the Empire Eagle Legionary. Look how badass they look. That's so awesome. Then we have the Empire's Noble troop tree. So this is going to be the ones where you're going to get your real specialized, really cool looking Roman troops. So these start with the Empire Principe. And then you have the Praetorian Miles, or the Empire Signifiers over here. So these are going to be kind of your banner bearers over here. They're going to help with your morale. And you can see it says it gives you a morale boost there. And then you've got your Optio, Centurion, and your Peerless Prior, which is going to give you a defense boost. So here's your Optio, your Centurion, and there's your Peerless Prior. So these are really good to put in your city defense. At least that's what I found out so far, is it's good to have a couple of these, at least a few, in your town's defense, because it really helps with your defense. But over here we got your Praetorian Miles, your Praetorian Immunis, Praetorian Principalis, which I think looks really cool. I love the wolf fur there. And then, of course, top tier, Empire Praetorian Guard. Look how cool they look. And, of course, cavalry options. The thing is, I love cavalry, like in real life, for how effective they are. But in this game, I love infantry, especially if we're basing it on antiquity. And you can't really beat Roman infantry. It's where it's at. So that's your noble troop tree for the Empire. Of course, there's various different Empire troops that I haven't shown you. You're going to have to download the mod if you want to see them all. I just want to show you some of the cooler things from each place in a real quick overview. So like I said, if you want to see all of them, you got to download it and check it out. But I'll show you a couple from the other factions as well. So here we have the Dryatic troop tree. So it starts with the tribesmen, and then you can go down an archer or an infantry path. And the archer honestly mostly looks like the vanilla stuff. I mean, they changed the assets, so we've got different helmets and stuff that have been added into the game. And some armor differences, but it mostly doesn't look as different as the Empire ones do. The infantry looks a little bit more unique. So we start with the clan warrior, then you can go with the spearman or the trained warrior, the picked warrior, and then finally the elite warrior is going to be down at the bottom, so that's going to have the most unique look out of all of them so far. And over in the spearman tree, you've got cavalry options, ending with the elite scout, and a spearman option with the heavy spearman. So that's going to be your most basic Dryatic the Dryatics tribesman troops tree. And then, of course, we have the Palaic troop tree, which is going to have, I would say, a more unique look than the Dryatic one, but less practical in real life, given that a lot of them don't have very comprehensive armor. But we're going to start with the tribesmen. Then you have, we'll just go through the warrior tree first, the Palaic warrior, and then you have a Palaic swordsman, Palaic chosen swordsman, Palaic sword follower. So those are the sword options. Or you could go with the Palaic veteran warrior, and then you're going to have a chosen warrior or a bloodsworn. Or you could go with cavalry and have the scout or the marauder. And so that's infantry wise. And then of course archers over here, we've got slingers. So there's a whole slinger path that you can go with the Palaic ones, which is going to end up in the stone killer, which is a name that I really love. And then we have the Palaic hunter, Palaic archer, and Palaic marksman. So that's the basic overview of the troops. Like I said, I didn't show a ton of them. There's a lot more variety than this, but I don't want to just spend all day looking at a bunch of different troops. They're a lot more fun to see in action. All right, so here we're going to be able to see just everyone in action, and I've got some pretty mixed up cavalry troops just from the war. But let's first show those infantry, the pride of Rome. Forward! And now this is going to be mostly your eagle Eagle Legionaries. There's some other people mixed in there, but that's the primary bulk of my force. Let's just pop them into a formation. I haven't noticed if they have a dedicated formation added with the mod, but the shield wall, it actually does a decent job of imitating a testudo. I mean, it's not perfect, but it actually looks pretty good. You've got some shield coverage on the sides, and then varying different shields over the top. As far as formation goes, I'm also a big fan of the square formation for the infantry with the Imperial troops, because it offers really good protection. It's one that I used a lot, especially when I'm a little bit outnumbered, and they perform pretty well in this formation. Now, I probably skipped it because it was long and boring, but I had them advance basically in formation all the way from back there to right up here where we're pretty dang close to their front lines. They were taking arrow fire the entire time, but they stayed in formation, and their shields gave them excellent coverage, so I didn't lose a single troop. The only annoying thing about the mod so far seems to be a Bannerlord problem, and it's that I can't, or at least I haven't been able to figure out so far, how to change the troop type of my companions. Now, you would think that they would not be automatically classed as infantry if they enter the battle on a horse, but for some reason they do, so I'm either going to have to take their horses away, or I'm going to have to get rid of them or something, because I don't want them wrecking my infantry formations like this. But they always seem to.
Infantry attack!
So now we're just going to have our infantry charge, because, you know, this will be an easy enough battle to beat. We outnumber the enemy 3-1, and our troops are vastly superior. But while they're doing all the cleanup work, I just want to talk a little bit more about this mod. Like I said, link is in the description. They have a donation option, and I definitely recommend giving to it if this is something that you enjoy. And of course, endorse the mod if you like it, because it's fantastic work. But you really got to see it to believe it. It takes all of the weak points of Bannerlord, and in my opinion, it's already doing a very good job of fixing them. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I think the worst thing about Bannerlord is the fact that they kind of tried to straddle the line between the ancient period, Rome and the early Germanic and Celtic peoples and all that sort of stuff, and tried to kind of mix it up with the medieval Europe feel that they had more in Warband, and I don't think it works. I think you either go one or the other, and honestly, considering Warband was already medieval, I'm fine with this being ancient, even though I prefer the medieval period overall. But I think this mod fixes that, and now the Empire actually looks exactly what they clearly intended it to be, which was Rome. That was always something that annoyed me with the vanilla game, was that the Empire was clearly a Roman faction, but they didn't look like a Roman faction. I definitely recommend giving it a try. They have very detailed instructions on how to install the mod on their page, and really, that's all there is to it. It's a fantastic mod, and I love it. Links in the description. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you like this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.